What's going on, guys? This is Sam, and today I want to talk about some of the latest iOS 12 rumors that we're hearing. I feel like I've made so many videos on iOS 12 in recent history, but every day we're hearing just a little bit more than we heard the day before, which is really exciting. Also want to talk about the 2018 iPhones. There's a mystery iPhone that we're hearing about now that could be the low-cost iPhone. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. The first new iOS 12 information that we have comes courtesy of a source called The Information, which is a really weird name for a publication, but they have some good and what appears to be some really solid intel on iOS 12. In just a couple of days, they report that Apple will introduce expanded NFC functionality on all new iPhones since the iPhone 6, which would be all the iPhones with an NFC chip inside. Now, traditionally, Apple has utilized the NFC chip for pretty much just one thing, and that's Apple Pay. Huge Apple Pay fan. I use it all the time. It is fantastic. I just bought some delicious ice cream with it last night. So according to The Information in iOS 12, you'll be able to unlock car doors with NFC, pay for transit fares using NFC, authenticate yourself into regular or other places with NFC terminals just using your phone, or hopefully being able to use the NFC chip on your watch as well. And what's even more interesting about all of this is that Apple's actually testing it right now at their new campus at Apple Park. And Apple has reportedly done this by partnering with all their security measures at Apple Park with a company that focuses on authentication called HID Global. I went to their website, and there's obviously nothing that shows their stuff at Apple Park that Apple is actually working on this. But this, if true, is incredibly exciting because NFC has a ridiculous amount of functionality that's already built into our iPhones. Like what we paid for our phones, we already have this functionality. Apple just hasn't unlocked it in software yet. We were hearing up until now that iOS 12 was going to be a smaller update, but maybe Apple has a number of these sort of bombshell features that they just haven't talked about yet. I mean, this is something that could be really, really exciting and could change the way that you authenticate yourself in the real world. Now, of course, the technology has to be there in the real world for this to actually be feasible, but if it is, you could be able to authenticate yourself in new ways, or unlocking your car with your phone. Would you even need a key anymore? I think it's a really cool idea, and I can't wait to see Apple talk about this, and hopefully for this to become a reality in just a couple days. I was actually reading more about iOS 12, and I realized that there's a rumor that I just never talked about on this channel, that Bloomberg and Makatsuki have talked about, and that's the fact that iBooks in iOS 12 could be getting a pretty big redesign with the Today tab and maybe some other refresh tabs as well, basically to parallel the iOS App Store that was refreshed in iOS 11. I actually talked about this in yesterday's video because the Mac OS App Store is said to be getting a very similar iOS 11-esque redesign where it's going to be super aesthetically pleasing, it's going to look really nice, and hopefully it will boost sales for featured apps as well. So if Apple brings that logic over to the iBooks store, that means there's only one platform left that Apple hasn't touched in a long time, and that's the iTunes store. This has remained the same in design, I think pretty much identical to how it's looked since iOS 7, and Apple hasn't touched anything, and it's actually rumored to not be called iBooks anymore. Apple may be changing the name to Books, which is a little bit more simpler, but only simpler by one letter, and we saw this in the iOS 11.3 beta. I want to say it was beta 2 or beta 3 a few months ago. It inadvertently changed to Books, and everyone thought this is when the refresh was going to happen when iOS 11.3 launches, but when iOS 11.3 launched, nothing happened, and it went back to iBooks a beta or two later, so everybody thought it was a mistake. But that aligned with a report from Bloomberg, and Makatsuki also says that with iOS 12, iBooks should be getting at least some refresh in the Today tab, and it should be called Books now, which is kind of interesting, but also a very small change. I don't know the last time that I went to iBooks to purchase anything, but if you are an avid reader, if you use iBooks a lot, the new update in iOS 12 should make it not only look better, but make the name a little bit simpler. I want to shift from iOS 12 now to the new iPhones coming out later this year. We got some new information on the A12 chips inside, and this mystery model that people are codenaming D84 or Star. There's been a lot of talk about that. First up, for the chips inside of these 2018 iPhones, they will reportedly be the Apple A12 processor. The name is not 100% confirmed, but in the latest Bloomberg article that was published on the matter, they say it will likely be called the A12 chip. The article also talks about some revolutionary new technology that Apple is using for these chips, which is going to be a 7nm design. The chips inside of the iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus, and the iPhone 10 use a 10nm design, and I believe companies like Samsung, the article talks about, are going to follow suit, or they're already working on this technology. But if Apple deploys it, they could be the first to use these really, really tiny 7nm chips. But even though they're getting smaller, they're said to be faster and more efficient at the same time. So they could give you better battery life, even being more powerful and smaller, which is a really insane idea, but Apple's chip team has been working wonders in recent years. The A11 Bionic chip inside of the 2017 iPhones, to my knowledge, is still the fastest smartphone processor to date, and if Apple makes it even faster and smaller and more efficient with the 2018 iPhone lineup, it's just going to blow the competition seemingly out of the water. I can't wait to run a Geekbench test on this and actually see it in normal everyday usage on the 2018 iPhones, because based off the looks of it, it's going to be pretty insane. After that article came out, there weren't that many iPhone leaks and rumors for a couple of days until 9to5Mac published their first scoop in quite some time. They said that Apple is basically working on this iOS chip-based Mac that's going to have LTE, and it's going to be like an iPhone, but it's also like maybe going to be a notebook or a Mac of some sort. And honestly, as I was reading it, I was pretty confused. So two other sources jumped on to sort of clarify things or anti-corroborate and not agree with the claims, but also point them in a different direction. So OnLeaks said that it's actually the 2018 iPhone, and Mark Gurman chimed in and said that as well, that it's going to be the 2018 flagship LCD low-cost model, and that 9to5Mac sort of just got their details confused, because if Apple was actually going to put a traditional iOS chip like the A12 or the A13 in a Mac, that would be a really big shift away from Intel chips. And Bloomberg had reported that in 2019 or 2020 that was going to be happening, but maybe it would be happening sooner based on what 9to5Mac was reporting, that these prototypes were already in testing and being sent to Apple. On top of this, to lend more to the claim that it would be the 2018 LCD iPhone, OnLeaks claims that it is going to be available in multiple colors. And I want to say RBC a few days or a few weeks ago also claimed the same thing, that the 2018 LCD iPhone could be coming, I want to say, in pink, blue, and yellow, or red, blue, and yellow, which are pretty bright colors. They're definitely very eye-catching, and now OnLeaks has corroborated that. So we transitioned really quickly from an iOS chip-based Mac, or they call it an ARM processor-based Mac computer, to now just the LCD iPhone. And another random third source, or fourth source technically, jumped in on Twitter named Longhorn and claims that it has haptics, a quote combo station, and also quote departure on the iPhone concept, end quote. Which leaves a lot of mystery with all of this. Like, first we were hearing it was going to be a Mac, now we're hearing it's the 2018 LCD iPhone. We didn't think it was going to be a really big upgrade for such a low-cost model, but now it's being called the departure on the iPhone concept. Maybe it's like a Mac iPhone combo. I don't really know. I'm just presenting these facts to you at face value. Any speculation I have isn't actually backed up by anything. No sources, of course, have told me anything about this, but I will keep you updated, because I was thinking that the low-cost 2018 iPhone was going to be a relatively small upgrade. Like, it would have a 6-inch LCD display. It was going to have Face ID, bezel-less design. It's going to be pretty cool, but now we're hearing more details about it that make it sound much more mysterious and intriguing than what we were previously here. And the iPhone that I've been talking about in this video is only one of 3 or 4 new flagship models coming this year. The fourth model that I always throw in as a toss-up is the iPhone SE2. We've seen leaks that look like this and concepts that look like this, and nobody really agrees on how that phone's gonna look, or if it's for sure coming at all. Some people say it's coming at WWDC in just a little bit. Others say it won't be coming until September. Others say it's not coming at all. But for the 3 main models, this low-cost LCD iPhone that could come in a bunch of colors, a little bit reminiscent of the iPhone 5C, is going to be joined by 2 very high-end models, the iPhone 10 version 2, or second generation iPhone 10, and the iPhone 10 Plus. And the iPhone 10 Plus has probably got the most hype behind it. While the screen size on the second generation iPhone 10 will be staying the same, 5.8 inches, the iPhone 10 Plus is going to have a massive 6.5-inch display. For anybody who feels that the screen on the iPhone 10 even is too small, Apple is making that device for you. Just the other day, I did a huge comprehensive overview of everything we had heard about the low-cost iPhone, a little bit on the iPhone SE2, and about the second generation iPhone 10 and the iPhone 10 Plus. So if you missed that, I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner of the screen. All I know is that I'm excited. Maybe this low-end iPhone is going to be a bigger upgrade than anticipated based on what sources had been reporting. Maybe for what you're going to be paying, you could get a better deal or better features and an entirely new iPhone that isn't just low-end. It's like a third option in addition to the other 2. But we don't know just yet. Of course, I will keep you updated on this situation, and that's all I want to talk about for now. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something new, if it helped you out, feel free to drop a like, and of course, hit subscribe for more videos like like this in the future on iOS 12 and on the 2018 iPhone lineup. If you feel like being awesome, going that extra mile, you can head over to shop.iupdateos.com to buy a t-shirt, or patreon.com/update. Both of those directly support the channel, which is always appreciated. But that's all I've got for now. I've been Sam. I hope all of you are doing great, and I'll talk to you in my next video.